Well, hello once again. Welcome to Be the Leader podcast. I'm David McGlennon, your host, and so grateful for this conversation today. You are in for a treat. I have talked with Dan Dominguez for a number of times. We've already been chatting here for a few minutes before we hit record. And this is just going to be an amazing conversation. We did a LinkedIn Live together not long ago. And the time flew by so fast, but there were so many great takeaways, and Dan was already just sharing with me so many great follow-ups that he's had with the people who are on that LinkedIn Live. So let me just introduce to you Dan Dominguez today, because he is an amazing individual and a great leader. Dan Dominguez is with the Why Institute. And we're going to talk a little bit about what that is in just a moment. But if you know me, you know that I really enjoy connecting people to their why, their purpose, because when we do that, that helps people to not only to fulfill why they're here on this earth, but also to help them to be engaged in the work that they do and in the company that they're working for. And so Dan's why, just to let you know what Dan's why is it's to contribute, and it's to contribute positively to the lives of others. His how is to do things the right way and deliver reliable results. His what is to build relationships based on trust to help others move forward faster. He's a former sales leader at Baxter Healthcare, whose teams consistently exceeded their sales goals and made a difference in the lives of others. We're going to talk a little bit about that as well. He's a former academic scholar, college mascot, Army Ranger, so you know he's one tough dude. He's a marathon runner. We were already talking about running here this morning, track and cross-country coach, and a Rotarian who loves to connect with people. When you get to say hello to him here just in a second, you're going to recognize he loves to connect with people. And honestly, that's why he does what he does every day at the Why Institute as their chief growth officer. So Dan, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, David. What a great introduction. Thank you for being so generous with your praise. I've enjoyed connecting with you. It's always nice when we connect with people who believe what we believe, that the why is an important part of everything that we do. We call it the essential first step in self-awareness. And I know you start everything you do when you start working on culture with companies with why. What is your purpose? Because when you know your purpose, you have passion, you have energy. And so it's been a blast getting to know you, getting to know your network. Had some folks that were on the LinkedIn Live that I've already followed up with. And it's just so neat because you have great relationships with the people you work with, and you transfer that over with your positivity and your energy. So it's great to be here. Thank you.
Well, as you know, my why is to contribute as well. I did my own why assessment. We'll talk about that here in just a moment. And realize that my why is to contribute. And it makes a lot of sense, as especially one of the things we'll talk about in a moment that you were just talking about prior to hitting record about your journey as a leader. But let's back up for a second. So talk a little bit about the Why Institute. What is it? How did it come to be? And just kind of let's start there.
Sure. So David, the Why Institute began about 10 years ago with our founder, Gary Sanchez. Dr. Gary Sanchez was a practicing dentist, is still a practicing dentist, and he'd been in practice for about 20 years. And he noticed that his practice wasn't really growing. It wasn't really thriving as much as he wanted it to be. He talks about the fact, when he graduated dental school and he was going to move back to New Mexico, there wasn't going to be a cavity anywhere near his practice. He was going to take care of everyone's teeth. And when you're coming out of school, everybody says, hey, if you build a great product, people will come, right? We've all heard that. And those of us who have been in business for a while know that that's not necessarily the truth, because you can have a great product and people don't necessarily come to you. You've got to get your message out. And Gary was wondering how to get his message out. And around that same time, Simon Sinek came out with his famous TED Talk, Start With Why. So Gary saw that and he said, that's what I need to do. I need to find my why. So back then you could call Simon Sinek up. So he did. He called him up and said, Simon, I saw your TED Talk. I want to know my why. Can you help me find my why? And Simon at that time did not have an answer for him, but he was very generous. And they spent about 8 months together. And they went back
Wow.
and forth, and they figured out after working together for about 8 months that Gary's why was to find a better way and share it with the world. And
Wow.
so Gary says that, he says, Dan, that was eye-opening for me because all of a sudden my life made sense. Just like when you and I talked about your contribute why, everything you do is to contribute to a greater cause, make a difference, add value, and have an impact on people. Well, everything he does is to find a better way and share it. He's had, tens of inventions. He's got patents because he took a normal chair and he said, hey, there's got to be a better way to build that chair for people who sit all day so they don't get back pain, so their arms don't get tired. And he built, and it's called, I think it's the dental chair. And, and he sold
Wow.
it and he got it patented. And that's what he does. He can't help himself. So, of course, after spending 8 months with Simon figuring out his why, he said, Dan, there had to be a better way to do that. Right? So he dedicated the next 2 years of his life. He interviewed everyone that he came in contact with. He would, he said, if you were sitting on a plane next to him, he was asking you about your why. And he at the grocery store, you were waiting in line. He was asking you, what's your why? I have a good friend of mine who met Gary around that time. And he says, oh my gosh, that guy, all he wanted to talk about was why, because that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to figure out a way to find your why faster. So after about 2 years and about 2,000 interviews, he got that process down to about an hour. He could sit down with you, ask you some questions, listen to some stories about your life, and get an idea of what your why was. And that worked. And people started asking him, hey, will you teach us how to do that? Because we find that it's important. So he started talking to other dental practices, and he became obsessed with finding an even better way. And what you did, David, you and I have done it, is took the 5-minute assessment, online assessment that he ultimately came up with. He took about 1,500 questions, and then he put them into an algorithm so that when someone takes the why discovery, they only answer about 10 to 12 questions. It takes about 5 minutes, and you come out with one of the 9 whys that over his 2,000 interviews, now 40,000 interviews that we've done, people fit into. And what's great about it is it's very accurate. When someone takes the assessment and they come back to us and we say, you know what, your why is contribute, we go through the characteristics, the challenges, they usually say, oh my gosh, how do you know so much about me in 5 minutes? What's the genius of obviously 1,500 questions, 10 years of work, and the proven method that has gotten us to this point. And we really enjoy helping people find that why, because a lot of people say, now that makes sense, whatever their why is.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
I mean, that was a long answer, but
no, it's great.
Here's a history in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, no, that's great. And so the Why Institute then helps people and companies discover their why, and is in business to be able to do that. And that's an amazing why in and of itself.
Yeah. We exist to help companies find a better way to brand themselves, or individuals to brand themselves. We find a lot of companies. So there's 2 processes we take them through, David. One is the why, how, what of the company. So remember Simon's talk, he talked about the inspiring companies tell us why they do what they do. Yeah. And then they tell us how they do it. And then they tell us what they do. Southwest Airlines, they tell us, we challenge the status quo in everything we do. How we do that is by providing you low fares, by providing you, hassle-free boarding, group boarding. There's no assigned seats. Ultimately, what they deliver is low cost airfares. That's what they do. But if they started with that, it would be like, you're a cheap airline, right?
So everybody else does that too, or somebody else does that too.
Yeah. So you're competing on price. So when they say, hey, we challenge the status quo, and then they show you how they do it, you're like, either you like that or you don't, but it becomes a great filter. So when you start with your why, your how, and your what, people know what you're about, and then they find it easier to connect with you. And so we help individuals do that. Our personal branding has to kind of exist that way. I mentioned it on our LinkedIn Live. I keep my why, how, what handy all the time.
Oh, nice. Yes.
I exist to make a positive impact in the lives of people. I'm a contributor. How I do that is by finding ways to deliver reliable results, because I'm a right way guy. That's my how. And my what is to build relationships based on trust. So ultimately, in everything that I do, I put it through those three filters. And if it checks off those three filters, the reason I'm here with you today, I think we can impact people positively. We're doing it the right way. We're going to deliver reliable results to anyone that wants to come and work with us. They're going to get their why. And ultimately, we build relationships based on trust, because you're a trusted individual by your network. I hope that we transfer some of that trust by the conversation we have and the genuine connection that we have. And people will come to the Y Institute and learn more about themselves, because they say, hey, that's David McGlennon. I trust that guy because he has never steered me wrong. For you and I, it's interesting. I was talking about that with our partner the other day. I had a conversation with someone who, the conversation just didn't go. In sales, sometimes the conversation doesn't go well. It just didn't end right. And it wasn't anything bad, but at the end, I caught myself saying, I felt at the end that guy wasn't trusting me. He wasn't thinking that I was coming from a genuine place, and that bothered me, because my is trust. So people with a why trust is so important. If we lose someone's trust, we're going to do everything we can to regain it. And the same goes the other way. If somebody breaks our trust, it's really hard for them to regain it. But I was so upset by that I thought, that guy thought I was being slimy or sneaky. And I don't want him to think that. I've got to call him back. And sometimes you just got to let those go. The connection wasn't. We'll catch up next time. Don't make a big deal out of it, because he probably doesn't think it's a big deal. It's a big deal to me because trust is important to me.
I totally get that, especially since I'm a contributor. I get it. One thing you said that I want to just share with the audience. So as you're watching or listening to us in this conversation, I just want to share with you that Dan and I were actually talking before we hit record, and we're going to do a private webinar to help people in my community to discover their why. We don't have a date set. We don't have all the particulars set. It's going to be very exclusive. I mean, like total of like 15 people. So if you're interested, I would recommend that you send me a note or drop a comment in the comments below, wherever you're watching this, either here on YouTube or in one of my program sites. And so I just want to throw that out there, because I believe in the process that Dan and the Why Institute has developed, and I want to be able to help people in my circle of influence. And so I think I just wanted to throw that out there. Hope you don't mind, Dan, because I know we were talking about that, but we don't have particulars yet. But if you're interested, get on the wait list, put a note below, and I'll make sure that you get an invitation, because like I said, it's going to be exclusive. It's going to be small, and it'll go fast. It'll fill up fast. And when it's full, it's full. So anyway, I just wanted to share that as well.
No, thank you for sharing that, David. We would love to partner with people like yourself who have a great network of people who understand what we're about. The tough part, getting up in the morning is easy when you work with people that believe what you believe. And Simon talked about that, right? If you tell people what you believe, then you're going to attract people that believe what you believe. Yeah. So in our case, I think our first conversation, you knew what I stood for. You knew what the Y Institute was trying to do. And we connected, and we said, okay, let's connect each other to each other's networks, and let's help as many people as we can. Work is fun when you're working with people that believe what you believe. When we work with companies, we help them design their message so that they're telling the world what they believe. Like Southwest Airlines says, this is what we believe. You want to join us? Apple. We believe in challenging the status quo. Everything we do. 10 years ago, everybody's phone had 20 buttons. It was the BlackBerry, remember?
Right. I do.
Walking around with these glass screens with no buttons.
Right.
Not only that, that's also our camera. That's also our calendar. That's also, it is amazing everything that we do with, it's our MP3 player. We used to have an
Right.
iPod, a calendar, a Franklin planner. Now it's
Yep.
all in one device. And
Yeah.
they challenged us that. They said, I think when they launched the iPad, they wanted, I think their statement was, we want you to use our technology without thinking about it. You shouldn't be thinking about the technology. So I was challenging the status quo, because everybody wanted to, in the tech sector, they wanted to say, oh, I'm using my IBM
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
BlackBerry. And they said, no, we just want you to pull it out, and you don't even think about the technology. Or you don't even think about the fact that you're making your grocery list on your phone.
Yeah.
It used to be a 3x5 card and a pen. Now it's on your phone. Amazing what you do when you start with your why.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, go back for a moment and talk a little bit about your leadership journey, because I think when we tune into what our why is, it helps us to be aligned with our work, and sometimes it also tells us when we're misaligned and when we're out of alignment. Sometimes in my work, I'll talk about having the right people on the bus, but it's not only about having the right people on the bus. It's about having them in the right seats where they are aligned with their why. And before we hit record, you were talking a little bit about your journey. So talk about that leadership journey for just a moment, and how you discovered that perhaps you were maybe misaligned.
Yeah, so I started my career in healthcare sales, pharmaceutical sales, moved into capital equipment sales, and I was recruited by a Fortune 100 company to be a sales rep for them. And you know how exciting it is when you're late 20s, early 30s, you get hired by a big company and you get to go sell. Now, I'd been
Yeah.
in the Army, I had leadership experience. I had sold some capital equipment, so I had good sales experience. I felt like, man, nobody better come near me because they're going to buy something. I can sell ice to Eskimos. I'm going to get them to
Yes.
buy popsicles at a bonus, and I was so confident. And I started that journey. And because I'd had that experience, I was in my late 20s, early 30s. I rose vertically quickly, very quickly. Within 4 years, I was a regional manager. And then not soon after that, I was a national sales director, managing an entire sales force for an entire product line.
Mm,
What I found, though, is that my real passion was in helping people.
mm.
So when I was originally called to be a regional manager, it was, hey, Dan, we've got a region in the Midwest in the Rust Belt that, they're not performing. There's 15 regions and they're number 16. So can you help us get that region turned around? And again, you tell Dan, can you help? Of course he's going to help because he
Yeah.
contributes. So I moved my family. We moved to Louisville, Kentucky, and I was a regional manager working with a great team that just wasn't performing. But what I loved about that was the opportunity to help people
Mm,
turn their numbers around, analyze things together. So we came together, we built a mission. We said, this is what we're going to do. These are our goals that we're going to set, and these are going to be the things that we do to get there. And I love that. When I was helping each one of those individuals turn their territory around, work better, work smarter, find things that had worked for me to be a successful salesman that could work for them, and share, I was at my best.
mm.
But what happens is once you get that region turned around, I think we started, I think there were 14 regions, and we were last place. And then the next year we were like number 9. And then the next year we were 6. And then the next year we were 3. And I wanted to stay there and get to number 1, but unfortunately another opportunity came up and I got promoted to a national director.
Wow.
So, but it was so fun to get that team. A lot of those people went on to, I had clinical educators of the year come out of that group. So out of the entire
Wow.
country, the top clinical educators, the top salespeople, President's Club came out of that region. A
Mm,
lot of them moved into management positions. When I was at the national sales leader level, a lot of them came up and became region managers under me. But I really enjoyed watching their development and having a part in that development, because as a contributor who likes to do things the right way and develop trust, that was fun for me. But what happened, is once I had contributed to the improvement of the team, once I was delivering reliable results, and we had a great relationship built on trust, well, my work was done. Now I was
mm.
bored.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
why the next opportunity came up and I took it. And that was a fun opportunity because our company had bought another company. So this was
Mm.
a great performing small company. We needed their products, but we also needed their sales force and expertise. And I remember our VP of sales calls me and he says, Dan, you got one job. You've got to get them acclimated to our company and our culture, and you can't lose any of the top talent, right? Just don't lose top talent because they're really good at what they do. And that was my job. There were 7 regional managers spread out across the country, each with their teams. And again, the same thing. Okay, guys, you're new to us. We acquired you, but hey, you're part of this team. What can we do to help you acclimate so your teams are comfortable? I mean, it was little things, David, like their computers, when their email wasn't syncing up with our email. And literally, here's the national sales director on with IT and saying, guys, this is top priority. I don't want these people not getting their emails, because that frustrates you. Imagine you just got acquired by another company and you're not getting all the communications you need. So little things like that. But man, I was making a difference. I was helping them communicate, helping them continue to be great salespeople using our new systems. They had been an independent company, so they weren't a publicly traded company. So they were much more used to being more creative, let's say.
Yeah.
In our company, everything had to go right by the book, because obviously there's more risk and less tolerance for being just outside the line, because the FDA really likes to find those big companies with deep pockets. So we are always very careful about that stuff. So learning those nuances of how we had to do things differently was different. Literally bringing in the ad prom people and the marketing people and then the sales people into a room so they could all talk and understand each other and say, this is why we do what we do. Because once you understood that, it was easier to say, hey, they've got a tough job too. They've got to keep us out of jail and out of paying $1 million per incident for every time we used a piece that was out of date, right? As often happens in the medical world. So again, I got that team turned around. I think at one point, I felt success would be when those people in the acquired company could say, I don't remember not being part of this company. And we didn't lose any of the top talent. So again, for me, that was great. But you talked about it in my bio. When you go up vertically really quick, you don't build a great base, right? I was just all sales. And the higher you go up in an organization, the more skills you need. So I struggled with some of the analytics and some of the things that you're supposed to do as a national sales leader. And what I found is I was putting in a lot of work. And while my teams were delivering and I was working 60 to 80 hours a week and staring at my computer, figuring out ways to do things better so we could deliver good results so I could be trusted, right? That's what I wanted to do. I was finding that I wasn't spending time with the people that were most important to me, and that's my family. And at some point I made a button trigger, and I said, wait a minute, you're contributing to a lot of things, but are you taking care of things at home? And I really wasn't. So my wife and I sat down and we just said, let's make a decision to do what's right for us so that we can be successful as a family. And you and I were
based
talking
on
about
based on your what you value, or you value and what you decide is success, right?
Exactly. Based on my why. I want to contribute. So again, love, if you looked at it on paper, wow, he progressed. You look on my LinkedIn, it's like, wow, what a great progression of his career. But, personally, it wasn't matching up because I wanted to help people. So here I was working 60 to 8 hours a week. And on the weekends, guess what I would do? I would go volunteer and I would do things to help my community. And again, why not? I said to myself, I need to find something where what I do contributes every day so that my work, my daily work, fulfills my need to contribute. And that's what I do at the Y Institute, contribute to our vision. Our vision is to help 1 billion people find their why, and for everyone to know their why, how, what, and make decisions based on that so they can live fulfilled. We think that people who know their why, how, what are centered. People who know their why, how, what make better decisions, and they feel appreciated because they work in areas where they're using their strengths.
Yeah. Well, and I think that as I think about it, that's the benefit of knowing your why and your what and your how. So, but talk about, like, you made a conscious decision. I mean, you were being elevated in a company to a leadership position. You're still a leader. And, to me, as I talk about leadership, you can lead anywhere in the organization. Leadership is not a title. So what is it then that, or let me ask this different question. Why is it important for someone, whether they're, have a title or not, to really know their why? What do they get from that? What do they gain? And why would they want to find their why?
Yeah, well, I think it's, one of the things that I shared with you are the 9 whys, right, David?
Mm-hmm.
So there are 9 whys out there that contribute, which you and I are, and I think we've talked about it. There's trust, which is my what. You really believe in creating relationships based on trust. I think makes sense. People that have a why of makes sense, they like to solve problems, make sense out of complex or complicated problems and fix them. Better Way People, our founder, he loves to find better ways to do things and share them. Right Way People, these are people that find a way to do things right and deliver reliable results. Challenge the status quo. These are the people that love to challenge the way things are done. They're the ones that always say, hey, why do we have to do it that way? They're great people to have on the team to keep you from getting stale. Mastery, it's one of the rarest ones, but these are the people that seek to understand things very deeply. They're the people who, when they know about a topic, they really know it, and they're experts, and they're the people you go to when you want to talk about that topic. Clarify. These are people that it's very important for them to be really clear. So they are great communicators, and they also want to make sure that they understand you. They're the people at a meeting that say, well, can you clarify this? Or what if this happens? They're the ones that constantly ask clarifying questions. And then they're simplified. These are people that take complex problems and make them really simple. Now, I just went through about 9 different whys. I'll tell you why it's important, because you want to work in an area where your talents are appreciated. And what I mean by that is, if you're a challenge the status quo person, that is your why. You wake up every morning, no matter what you look at, you say, why does it have to be done that way? But do you think that person is going to be happy if you put them in the accounting department and you tell them to balance everything down to the penny, and then don't you even think about not following a gap rule? Because no, now they'll do it. We can do anything, right? If you have to pay your mortgage and you have to feed your family, you'll do that job, but you're not going to be happy. You're going to be looking forward to 5 o'clock. You're going to be looking forward to Friday, and you can't wait to get out of that. So putting people on the bus, on the right seat, is important. So if you're a leader, I recommend this to anybody. I wish I'd have had this tool. I would have used the why discovery on my regional teams, on my manager teams, because knowing what everybody's why is so important in order for us to communicate with them. We've all heard of the golden rule, right? Treat people as you would like to be treated. The Y Institute, we have something called the platinum rule. We say, communicate to people how they would like to be communicated to. So for example, on a team, you have someone, if you know that their why is to challenge the status quo, well, there are a lot of things that we have to do by the book. But anytime there's a chance to do something creatively, I was talking to a coach yesterday. He said, John Wooden, he had Saturday practices. Now, the only thing he wanted the guys to do was just to be together on Saturday and practice. Wasn't really a hard practice or anything. So that was an opportunity where he would say to the players, what do you guys want to do? And let them come up with it. So when you have a challenge why on your team, when those opportunities come up, say, hey, what do you think we should do differently here? Give them an opportunity to be themselves and take advantage of that. They're also great people to bring in when you're need to look at something differently. People who challenge the status quo see the world differently than we do. So take advantage of that. When you're stuck on something, say, hey, David, what are we not seeing here? They see things that are different right off the bat. So putting them in a position to succeed. If they're mastery people, they're your experts. Make them experts on something. Give them the opportunity to do that. It's and talking to them in their language.
Yeah, I love that so much, because I mean, it really helps individuals to feel, and you used this word just a little bit ago, not only feel, but be fulfilled. And I think that at the end of the day, that's such a great feeling. It's such a great feeling to know that I'm fulfilled. It's when we have to work and strive and feel like we're like butting our heads up against a wall or a ceiling or whatever. That's not enjoyable. But when we're aligned as leaders, when we fit into where we were designed for and what we were designed for, man, that's just it's a freeing place to be. And
Right.
you can be the most effective in that place. And so I guess for me, as I listen to you and as we've discussed about finding your why, that's the thing I think is most important for leaders, is that not only do they find their own why and they can fit in and feel fulfilled, but then they can communicate and be communicated with in a way that helps them to continue to be fulfilled and really kind of speaks their language. I love that so much, Dan. What's so as we kind of wrap up here, what's one thing that somebody could do to be able to like just take the first step in finding their why? And maybe this is where you want to talk about like how people can get in touch with you.
Yeah, absolutely. First thing they can do, anybody that wants to send me a note and has a question, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm connected to David. You go, if you're in David's network,
Yep.
you can find me there. It's Dan Dominguez at the Y Institute. You can also send me an email at dan@yyinstitute.com. Glad to answer any questions you guys have. But we also have some free Y Discovery webinars coming up. So we're going to do something special for you and your network, David. But I think next month in June, we're going to have a free Y Discovery where anybody that wants to go to www.yyinstitute.com, look for the free Y Discovery, and just register. And we're going to walk you through finding your why. And that's a great special that we're doing. You know, people are social distancing. We're quarantined. Normally, you would go to the website, you'd click on a button, you'd pay $47 and find your why. We're giving it to you for free. And we just want people to find their why and see where that takes them, right? Are they an individual that wants to know their why, how, what? Do they want to build their personal brand? Are they owner of a company and do they want to build their business why, how, what, and develop better messaging? So this is the introduction to the Y Institute. You know, you talked about talking about the why as to be used in your team. One of the things we believe is that when you play to your strengths, so when you tell people your why and people know your why, you get noticed, you feel valued, and you have unlimited energy. When somebody knows your why and they know that you are a right way guy or gal, and they put you to do stuff that requires you to do things the right way, you're happy all the time. Hey, you know what? You're a right way person. You're a compliance officer. That's perfect.
There you go.
You know, because you're gonna like making sure that we are in compliance all the time. You live for that stuff. Why wouldn't I put you in that role?
Yeah.
And again, knowing the 9 whys, the whys of your team makes you so much more effective as a leader.
Dan, thank you so much for that. I think that as leaders listen to this, I think it's just really a great and important message to be aligned with your purpose and your why. And so I encourage you to reach out to Dan, www.the or just Y Institute, whyinstitute.com, and sign up for one of those free webinars. But if you're interested in one with me and with Dan and with Gary, drop a note in the comments below, or send me an email, and I would love to invite you to an exclusive webinar with Dan and Gary and I to help you discover your why. But Dan, any last words to make this session complete? I'd just love to have you have the last word.
You know, honestly, David, this has been a lot of fun. I love telling people about what we do and sharing it with your network. So thanks for having us. At the Y Institute, we just believe that there's a better way to self-awareness, and that's by discovering your why. And we think everybody should know their why. So again, you've given us that opportunity here today. So we're extremely thankful. We look forward to seeing everyone that's listening to the podcast at our website. We'd love to have 100 people at the next free Y Discovery. Let's really test the limits of Zoom. We'd love to have you on. And I'm looking forward to our personal why, how, what for our Y Discovery with your team, David.
Awesome. Thank you, Dan. Thanks for your time today. And ladies and gentlemen watching, thank you so much for engaging with this podcast. Thanks for being here. We hope this has served you well. Let us know in the comments below what you took away from the conversation. And again, drop me a note And let me know if you're interested in a private session, a private webinar with me, Dan, and the founder, Gary Sanchez of the Why Institute. Would love to know that, and I'd love to bring that to you as well. So thanks again for watching, everybody. And until next time, be well and be the leader.